Welcome. Have we got a program for you today? You don't want to miss 1 minute of it. But starting out with the news, the Republican leadership in Congress is moving ahead with its plan to fulfill one of President Trump's key campaign promises. That is the repeal and replacement of the health thing known as Obamacare. Now the bill is headed to the Budget Committee, and it couldn't go in front of the entire House by the end of this month.
Abigail Robertson spoke with key members of Congress about where the bill stands now and where Republicans are planning to take it from here.
The rollout of the new health care bill had some rocky times in its first week, but the House Republican leadership is putting on the full court press to get members on board with their repeal and replace plan.
This is the closest we will ever get to repealing and replacing Obamacare. The time is here, the time is now. This is the moment, and this is the closest this will ever happen.
They hope to replace Obamacare in 3 stages, with phase 1 being passing the bill through a process called budget reconciliation. The bill is written in a way to prevent Democrats from filibustering it in the Senate, so it can be passed with a simple majority.
This is like trying to get things out of your house when it's on fire. So you'd like to take it all at once, but you can't take it all at once, and you've got to take it out, in different waves.
Phase 2 involves the HHS Secretary, Tom Price, using authority granted to him under Obamacare to make more changes to improve the healthcare system.
He's got unbelievable authority under the ACA to do all kinds of things. There's 1,400 places in the ACA where it says the secretary may or the secretary shall. Never thinking that somebody like Tom Price was going to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And I would argue that's a very good thing.
In phase 3, Congress will pass bills through the normal legislative process, with provisions that can't be done by reconciliation, like allowing insurance companies to sell policies across state lines.
This is the repeal and replacement product that the president wants, that he's given us the indication he's willing to roll up his sleeves and work with us to get it to the finish line.
Some pro-life groups are voicing concern that under the new health care bill, refundable tax credits provided by the plan could be used to fund abortions. But Congressman Reed says this is just based on misinformation.
I'm a pro-life member, proud of our pro-life record. It is clear that that's not going to be the case as we go forward. And so just getting more information, that's part of the process too.
Supporters of the bill won their first victories as it passed 2 committees last week. But there are still divisions in the Republican ranks over key elements of the plan. And some conservatives say it needs less government involvement for health care and more for the free market.
Within the bill itself, we are not creating an environment where the market can flourish yet.
Members of the Conservative Freedom Caucus, like Congressman Louis Gohmert and Jim Jordan, told CBN News why they're strongly opposed to the bill as it stands.
We didn't tell the voters we're going to repeal Obamacare, but we're going to keep some of the Obamacare taxes. I know I didn't tell them that. We didn't tell the voters we're going to repeal Obamacare, but we're going to take the Medicaid expansion and extend it and keep it for more years. We didn't say that. And we certainly didn't say we're going to repeal Obamacare, but we're going to start a new entitlement. Jordan introduced a bill calling for a clean repeal of Obamacare and then wants to debate how to replace it. He says as of now, he will not vote for the House leadership bill. No, not now. Of course not. So we're going to, we'll see. President Trump is using his art of the deal tactics to woo rogue Republicans into supporting the plan he refers to as wonderful by inviting the Freedom Caucus to the White House for a bowling party. But it could be a hard sell.
If we're setting this thing up so it's not completely getting rid of Obamacare, that it leaves massive parts of it, then we got problems.
For now, House leadership in the White House are focused on friendly negotiations with skeptical conservative members before they start forcing them to get in line. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Well, in other news, President Trump is facing a growing foreign policy challenge in Asia from North and South Korea. John Jessup has that.
That is right, Pat. As North Korea attempts to perfect its ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons, South Korea is undergoing a major political crisis. And as Dale Hurd explains, that has created an even more dangerous situation on the Korean Peninsula.
Intelligence analysis now confirms North Korea's ballistic missile launch last week was a practice drill to test hitting a U.S. Marine base in Japan. The North fired 4 extended-range Scud rockets into the Sea of Japan. 2 missile experts say the hypothetical target was U.S. Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni. South Korea's acting president says as North Korea is continuing its nuclear test and ballistic missile provocations, the current security situation of the Korean Peninsula is very urgent and serious. South Korea is going through an historic political upheaval with the impeachment and removal of President Park. The next president to be elected in May will likely take a much softer approach to North Korea. The frontrunner Moon Jae-in has called for economic reunification with the North and eventual political and military unification. He's also called for recognition of Kim Jong-un as North Korean leader. Alarmed by North Korea's weapons test, South Korea and the U.S. have agreed to deploy THAAD, the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Missile System in South Korea. That angers China, which sees it as a threat to its security. Some analysts believe North Korea already possesses up to 20 nuclear bombs, with the nuclear material to build many more, some small enough to fit on a missile, creating a clear and present danger to North Korea's neighbors. And some experts believe the North will likely have the nuclear missile capability to reach the United States within around 10 years. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Pat, back to you.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, some years ago, I served under then Douglas MacArthur, I guess, when he was in the Daiichi building, and I was in charge of U.S. forces in Asia. And what MacArthur wanted to do was to push our forces all the way to the Yalu River, seal off the Korean Peninsula, and take charge of that country and eliminate the communist threat. Of course, Harry Truman thought that might lead to a war with China, and so he fired MacArthur, and it was, well, we're paying the consequences. It seemed at the time, well, it was okay, the civilians should run the military, and everybody was applauding it, but it was a mistake. MacArthur had it right. We should have sealed off that peninsula and then done away with the communist threat, and at that point we would have had a unified North-South Korea that would have been our ally, and we could have been involved in the rebuilding of a friendly democracy. As it is now, we have a South Korea that is more or less our friend, and we have a North Korea which is a implacable foe. Now, here's the thing that is most worrying to anybody if they're thinking. North Korea has missiles. They also have nuclear bombs. All they would have to do is launch a missile over the pole, come in north, and explode a nuclear device above Chicago or someplace in the Midwest of America in the atmosphere. And that would set up an electronic magnetic pulse, an EMP, which essentially would fry all of the connections to our power grid all over the country. Shut down the ATM, shut down the banking system, shut down these means of supply. One missile launched at about, I don't know, 1,000 feet in the air, 1,200 feet, 2 or 3 miles in the air, something like that, and exploded with one missile. That's all it would take. It would paralyze our country. Now, that's what's possible, and that's why we've got to do everything we can to eliminate this threat, because those people over there are insane, and they have a huge arsenal. And as Peter King, congressman, said, it's a crime family running a nation, and that's what they are. They're a crime family running a nation. And the nation just happens to have a nuclear arsenal, and it has a big brother in China. So this is a major, major deal, but it shows that 50, 60 years ago, we could have done what was needed to eliminate that threat, and we didn't. Now, we'll shift domestically. The policy has been time-honored that when any new administration takes over, all of the the U.S. attorneys in the country who are political appointees resign. And then the new people can put in people they want, or none of them. They can leave them all. But that's standard. It happened under Clinton, and it has happened under others. But it was expected with Trump that everybody would leave. But there is one U.S. attorney named Preet Bharara who has made quite a name for himself in prosecuting whistleblowers and not whistleblowers, but people with inside information. And he's gotten some convictions, and he's gotten some overturned cases. He isn't all of a sudden clean. But the Trump said, you're one of our U.S. attorneys, and it's a political job, and we want you out. So Preet Bharara has said, oh, man, this is terrible. I've been fired. Well, all the U.S. attorneys across the country are supposed to resign, but he didn't do it. So John has more on that story.
That's right. As Pat was just saying, Attorney General Jeff Sessions' decision to remove nearly 50 U.S. attorneys general has raised the ire of some Democrats, although it's common practice to remove the attorneys from the previous administration. In total, Sessions asked for the resignation of 46 officials. Now, the attorney for the Southern District of New York, Preet Bharara, says he refused to resign and was later fired. That led some Democrats to blast the president for not really wanting to get corruption out of government, which Bharara had focused on fighting. But Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama all put in their own new attorneys, and many of Obama's attorneys had already left, knowing that they would eventually be replaced. Well, just in time for spring, a major winter storm is on its way for some parts of the country. Today, Philadelphia, Boston, and New York are preparing for a major nor'easter. Meteorologists say it's supposed to be one of the biggest storms this winter. Other areas like Minneapolis have already been hit.
Awful.
Why?
The snow is crazy. I didn't expect it to get this bad. It's intense. So crazy.
The Philly area could see 6 to 12 inches of snow, while Boston and New York could be left with up to 18 inches of snow. And Pat, it's crazy to believe just last week here in D.C., where we're also forecast to get snow, it was just 70 degrees.
Well, it's cherry blossom time. It's blossom time all over, and a lot of blossoms are going to get frozen, but that's too much. Okay, here's Terry.